for a minute because I noticed that the Starlink wasn't connected, and it's been dropping a lot this morning, so I don't know the deal with that. So basically what I did, I'll try it again when I leave the next delivery spot, but in the meantime, I'm just doing back to the cell phone. So right now, old reliable T-Mobile is one out for Starlink. It's all right. Figure out what it is. I really think it's the position of the receiver. So I know that if from here to the second delivery spot is where we're headed now. I have a few, I think it might be questionable whether the receiver for Starlink would be getting any better. So I've turned off my Wi-Fi for the moment. Once I make the delivery in Eldersburg, then I'll turn the Wi-Fi back on and see if it works. Because I did notice that part of the trip, because I'm headed basically north, a little northeast, that stayed connected better with Starlink. You see a car coming to your left, you really should stop at a circle, right? Ugh. Stop doing this though. I'm determined to make this work. Because at the very least, I will have a video log to look back on. And I recorded dash cam, basically, is what it boils down to. Look, there's an animal up there. See it? See it? Cat? Is it a cat? Fox. It's a fox. That was a fox. Did you see it? It was up there a little bit. Definitely a fox. Which is why the video log idea. That's why maybe there's summary videos at the end of the week. So the live streams, that that's going to be a thing. I'm going to be doing this. I feel like it's easy enough. Even if, let's say, I decide it's not worth Starlink. I think it is, though. Okay, but let's just say. Whoops. Thought you had me. See, we could make a game out of, like, how many times is he gonna not put his once I get all these little things ironed out, it's gonna be good. Craig, if you're watching, I saw your chat the other day. Thank you for adding a chat. Good morning. It was like Kai something Craig 360, I think. So if you're listening, my first ever chat, I think. I've never seen another person add a comment. It's big. It's big. Definitely think I have to put the Starlink on the roof. I mean, and they tell you, they're very, when you open up the box and you set up your account and all that, I mean, they tell you, they even have a thing in the app. There's an app that you download, and they've got a process when you're setting it up where you hit a button and it basically turns your phone into a compass and shows you, so that you can determine where the north facing sky is. I guess like if you were out camping or something, like I kind of knew where that was at my house, but so I kind of knew. Were out somewhere on the road and you were setting yourself up. So when I became aware of I'm sure you realize if I ever stop talking, it's just because my mind is shifted over to I can't drive and talk at the same time. That would be bad because no, but it just makes them focus more. Anyway, my mind is moving around just like this morning. Does anybody remember where I was going with that idea? Talking about something right before I Oh, the direction. That's what I was starting to say. So when the application was helping you determine where what the sky was, that's when my mind started going, well, maybe you can't just put this on the dashboard, because if you're driving south and your receiver is sitting on the dashboard, depending on the angle, you're not getting any northern sky. So if it really is a north sky dependent thing, then it needs to be on the roof of the car. It really does. Because otherwise you're going to have these cases where you're headed south. And I don't know. I'm gonna watch some more people talk about that. I'm gonna go back to some of those videos I was watching where the people were saying, I just put it on the dash and it works fine. Well, first of all, maybe you're in like some flat land. Because I guess the satellites, they must cross the sky, but maybe they do it at a more northern location. The other thing is it's getting better every day because they're shooting up rockets that are deployed. So, I was watching another clip once that was showing how it jumps. They were showing the signal jumping from one satellite to the next. Because you're not hooked onto one satellite the whole time. As the technology improves, so let's say, I don't know how many satellites are out there. Let's just to be, because I have no idea at all. So let's just say, I know there are thousands, right? But let's say there's 10. If there are 10 satellites up there, and they put up the 11th, is going to be a better satellite than number 1. So you might be connected to number 1 for a moment, but then when it moves to 10, you may have some improved connectivity. You see what I mean? So I think that's happening. funny that you can get a little frustrated by the fact that your signal is a little weaker. You got to cell, you got Starlink. I mean, think about this. This is definitely a first world problem. I mean, think about how ridiculous that sounds. I'm concerned because the quality of my video while I'm driving along real time and somebody sitting at home or in their office might see a blurry picture. I mean, think about that. Come on. It's pretty cool. The fact that I could do this at all is pretty freaking amazing. So Friday's Halloween. What's everybody going to be? I don't get any trick-or-treaters at my house. I mean, maybe it's because I turn all my lights off. Which I do that now, actually. I've sort of gradually stepped down. First of all, my neighborhood doesn't really have a lot of kids anymore. Like when I was growing up in my neighborhood, it was like, which was when I was really small, it was the late 60s, right? So like when I'm in my prime trick-or-treating 5 years old stage, I'm in the late 60s, early 70s. And, picture the 1950s Leave It to Beaver kind of stuff. That was still happening in my neighborhood when I was little. So we went, door to door. We knew all the neighbors. They would kind of like, some of them would invite you in. Oh, look, and you'd have the whole, it was a huge thing. And, I don't think we went super far. It's the typical suburban neighborhood with houses all within easy walking distance to each other. I mean, right next to each other, right? So, yeah, it was fantastic. And that's still happening. But it's not, what happens is over time the neighborhood everybody gets older. Really, this was a time when, neighborhoods were pretty much in that same age group. So everybody got a little older. The swarms of parents with kids walking around declined rapidly, about the same time that we lost interest, maybe a little bit sooner, because I would say we were like, the neighborhood was built in 57. So 57, people were moving out there. You go 5 years after that, you got kids that are you're starting to take away. So anyway, picture all of that. And you go through that phase where everybody's older now, and then you finally get to the phase where they're really older and nobody's trick-or-treating anymore. I remember a period where it seemed like most of our trick-or-treaters were people that were driving in from other neighborhoods. And they were usually like teenagers. So you would get trick-or-treaters, but they would come in a group because they have driven from some other neighborhood, because it's easy to walk house to house in our neighborhood, and they could easily rack up a decent amount of candy in very little time. But you didn't know. You don't know the kids. When I was little, we pretty much knew everybody we were going to trick or treat at, and that's mostly your neighbors. Now I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't tell you my neighbor's last name. But then the neighborhood goes through the phase where everybody starts dying. All the people, and I don't think people. We had a handful that stayed in their houses. Obviously, my mother did. Some other people, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 other people. And I'm talking about staying until they passed away. But others are moving into retirement and stuff like that. So it was, it's completely different now. But my point in saying that is, I came over here way too soon. My point in saying that is that it can revive, right? When the older people start either dying or moving out, when you get younger people in there. So we did go through that phase where we had another decent amount of kids, but even that's passed now, and we're back to it's just different. So anyway, the purpose of my story is to say I don't have any trick-or-treaters anymore. I just don't. All right, Monday morning. Let me turn you around. Look at this. This is just very consistent signal. All right. Do you hear that noise? Thank you. Take out the door. I don't even have to call him. This is exciting. And he brings the tray out. This guy's good. He comes to the door. I don't have to call them. And he brings the rolling rack. Rolling rack. This is the Starlink, by the way. I like it. I do like it. All right, here we go. Peekaboo! Wow. They are down to the bare minimum. I dropped a lot of donuts off here yesterday and they're all gone. It's a good sign. Somebody was hungry. Trying to keep it organized for these folks. Be right back. Bear with me a second. Rest stop. I'm back. The timing works out perfectly that, like, one day is when I have three stops like this. I get here exactly when the coffee kicks in, if you know what I'm saying. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to power this off for a second. You know, like when technology people always say, did you restart your computer? Did you turn it off and back on? So we did that. I'm going to go to the... let me get around to the front of the building. Oh, by the way, Janet, if you're watching, I know you're not because you're traveling, I think. But, they got like 2 bags of dog treats in there. I saw it on the shelf. So, I think there were only 2 left. Alright, I'm going to switch us over to Starlink in a second. Little rattly. Alright, let's go here. 2 seconds, bear with me here, please. Let's turn this around. Let's go here. Starting your live. Alright. We'll see what happens. No, I already got this one. Sorry, I tried to put my seatbelt back on and I never took it off. So there's that. Okay. Alright, let's see what happens with this. Because from this point forward, I'm going north. So, well, except for this little strip right here. Let's see what happens. Nobody coming. This person's making a right-hand turn. Okay. Safety first. Oh, well, you weren't making a right-hand turn. Oh, you know what? Let's shift. got a better view. I forgot to move you. So it is 7:15. We're on time because I'm about a half an hour from that delivery from Eldersburg to about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit, give or take 5. So we should be getting back a little before 30. Get the trays in there. Not going to be useful very long. So Friday's Halloween. I've gotten to the point, I was talking about the neighborhood. So the neighborhood's older, don't get any trick-or-treaters. But, I mean, people that moved in next to me, both sides actually had some kids. They were trick-or-treating for a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago. So there was still a little phase of time where we did have enough young people that I'd get like maybe three to 5 all night long. And at one point I had 3 dogs. I'm down to 1 now. I've always had a dog, always, in my life. Even when I was very, very little, I had a dog. But anyway, I'm down to 1, but he's a spaz when it comes to people coming to the door. So, I live on a street that has, people walking by occasionally. He gets used to things like, there's the school kids. They walk by. Is anybody coming out of the neighborhood going to the high school? These aren't little kids, they're like high school. So there's a whole stream of those kids that go by. And he's pretty good about it. Like, if he sees the same people, here's what I don't understand. Maybe somebody can help me with this. If you ever do want to leave me a note, I can't read it or see it when I'm driving, but I do read stuff later. I don't know how to reply to people on YouTube if all I have is your channel. I tried to figure that out yesterday because my new friend named Craig left me a hello message, so I would like to say hello back. If you didn't see me earlier, I said hi, but I can't see it until I get home, until the end of the day. But I'm working on that. The other, where was I going with that? What was I starting to say? God, I'm getting bad with my conversations. This is what happens when you get older. Oh, with the dogs. Dogs. AJ. So here's what I don't understand. This is what I was trying to say. Here's what I don't understand. AJ, he barks. If he sees somebody walking by the house, toward the house, somebody he doesn't recognize, some even people that he does, he barks like crazy. Well, not like crazy, unless they're in the yard. If they're coming close to the house, he thinks they're headed toward the house, like if it's a delivery person. So here's the thing. He gets used to, he seems to at least, get used to like the traffic, the foot traffic that goes by my house when school is in, because you got like, all the school kids, a certain group. But he doesn't get used to the mailman. Like, why is that? Why do dogs have a thing about the mailman? I mean, is it because they approach the house? But other people are walking by. Maybe it's approaching the house, I guess. So he knows when he sees that person or that truck, he knows that person is going to try to attack the house. And if it wasn't for him, and this is what I think, a dog probably thinks, if it wasn't for me barking at this person, they would attack us. They're planning to come in the house and attack us, and it's my job to protect Craig. This is what I'm talking AJ's mind. It's my job to protect Craig, and this person comes to the house every day, and if I wasn't here, barking my butt off and looking very scary, Craig would be dead by now. They would have come in and killed Craig. So I'm here to protect Craig. That's what I think they're thinking. But if it's the kids that walk by going to school, I guess he realizes that they're not a threat because they're not coming toward the house. Maybe. I went through a period of time where quite a few kids got the idea that there's a space between the fence I have around my yard and the fence my neighbor has around their yard. We didn't connect the fences because there's a telephone pole in the back of the yard, like in the corner of my yard, the very back. There's a telephone pole. And when we built our fence, we were told that you should leave, I think you have to leave like a 10-foot, 12 foot, something like that, space between the fences in case they have to take a truck back to the telephone pole. Now I can say that over the past, the house was built in 57, it's now 25, so we're coming up on 70 years. Is that right? Yeah. So in 70 years, they've only come back to fix the pole 0 times. 0. I said 0. So the idea that we had to put a gap between our fences is bullcrap. But actually, my neighbor did not do that. When they built their fence, after I did. So they wanted to connect their fence to mine. I'm like, I don't want to give up a 5 or 6 foot strip down the side of my yard. If I ever want to replace my fence, I'll put it up to the property line, right? So that's a decent amount of property I didn't really want to give up. And maybe I could have sold it to her. Probably could have sold it to her. But anyway, I didn't do that. So she the neighbor that I had at the time when they built their fence, she didn't like that. She got a little mad at me, but if they connected the fence, because now she moved out. Like, she was only there maybe 10 years. I think she was there 10 years. And then she moved. Well, if I had said, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, well, we'll understand, 6 feet's mine, blah, blah, blah. Well, no. Now somebody lives there, they don't understand all that. Matter of fact, I had to explain to them, I said, hey, because they went out one time, they were cutting the grass, and they went down the little strip between our yards. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to cut that, that's mine. Like my fence is 6 feet into my yard. So your fence is your yard, my fence is inside my yard, so I will cut the outside. And that's what I do. No problem. But if she had connected her fence to mine, well, that would be a more difficult conversation for sure. So basically there wouldn't have been any conversation. They just would have like, oh, I guess it's not my yard anymore. Anyway, so the point is, so now there's like between the two fences, there's this 5 or 6 foot gap because it's my yard. It's between my fence and the neighbor's fence, which is on the property line. Their fence is. And kids from the school, the high school, were walking because it's sort of if you lived in the neighborhood in that direction behind my house, you could save a considerable amount of your walk by walking through that section. And I guess I'm like, no, I'm not having this because there was trash and all this other stuff. I was like, no, this isn't happening. And there's there's a fence at the back, so they basically had to climb over a fence or jump into my yard and then jump. It was just not good. It wasn't good. Okay. So I had that battle for a couple years actually, and finally stopped. Nature stopped it. I guess you could. I've seen this guy before. See this guy with the shark? He's walking by now. He's got a knapsack on. There's a shark. I've seen him a couple times. This is the traffic light. I have an idea about something I want to do. I'm not going to talk about it. So I had the battle of the school kids walking through my yard, and I had people. I was at one point. I took a picture of somebody that was like jumping over my fence or something, just to scare them. And I had some lady, like the mother, came to my house and yelled at me and shit. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm not. She was yelling like, because I think I yelled. I was like, you shouldn't be walking through the yard. And then, I'm not really a super violent or aggressive person. So I'm not like yelling crazily at them. I was just trying to encourage people not to do this. And the mom was like, I think she accused me of like, what am I doing with the pictures? Like some kind of sicko, blah, blah, blah. She's like yelling at me, like, what's wrong with you? Your kid is walking through my yard. I wouldn't be taking their picture unless they were in my yard. I can take a picture. Oh, yeah, she was basically saying I couldn't take the picture. I'm like, no, I can't. First of all, you can take a picture of somebody anywhere. I could walk through the mall and take a picture of people. And secondly, and more importantly, if you're in my yard, oh yeah, I can take your picture. And I would let the dogs out. This is when I had multiple dogs. I would let the dogs out while the kids were walking down between, because then they couldn't jump into my yard and over the fences. They had to try to get through this The other fence was a little bit more difficult to get through, but they found a way to do it. They actually broke it. But it was an interesting time, very interesting time. But I do think, even in that situation, I didn't ever thought about it before, but God took care of that for me, because he grew a sticker bush, a very aggressive sticker bush, at the end of that walkway, so they couldn't get through it anymore. Yesterday, this part of the drive, because I'm going north, so I think this part is going to be pretty good. I think. Maybe not. We'll find out. But if it is, because this section was not particularly good with the phone. Give them a sense of pride. Make it easy. When the train goes by here, I wonder if you can look that up. I'm going to ask AI about that. Started using AI where you just hit that. I use Chat GPT, so I've got that one where you can hit the button. You don't type your question in. You just like little magic ball shows up in the middle of your screen, and it's the person talking to you, which is insane. Okay, it's crazy. You really feel like you're sitting there talking to somebody. I think you're going to drop here. Hang on, everybody. I think you're going to drop. Come back. Maybe not. But you can have you can have a conversation with your computer. It's weird. It feels very weird doing it. But the guy is like, talks to me, he's like, you got this? Not really. AI/motivational speaker. So when I was trying to set up the Starlink, that was the most ridiculous conversation I've had with the computer. Because I was setting it up, and I was asking questions. I'm like, let me just turn on AI and see what they would say. It was actually, and I don't mean to criticize AI, but I was trying to set up my account with Starlink, and I was trying to do something off their normal. Oh, look here. Here comes the skeleton. See him on the left? So there's the bike. The guy's waving, and there's the guy running with the helmet on. I was asking questions like, hey, I'm trying to set up my account. I already have the receiver, Starlink receiver. I just need to set up an account. And it was a little helpful about where to go. Go here, click on this, do that. But not everything that the AI was saying was working. But he was very, very encouraging, to the point that it was kind of sickening. You got this. You're going to get this. You're going to get it. Like, I think I could see people going, you know, please stop. I couldn't see what he would say if I said that. A couple years ago, somebody in the office where I worked, an AI was just starting to come out like that. It wasn't talking to you. You would type everything. And I thought it was pretty funny that he was typing in a question and you know, get an answer, and the answer wouldn't be quite right or whatever, and he would do this like 2 or 3 times, and then he was getting frustrated, and he was typing in his responses back to the AI. He was like cursing it out, getting kind of angry, and he said that the AI program put him in timeout. Like, I think he said something like he wasn't going to help him for like an hour or some period of time. I thought that was hysterical. But yeah, originally, you know what I was using AI for originally? Because I was communicating with people through email and, you know, chat messages and stuff like that at work. A lot of emails and a lot of just putting a response into a system of some sort, and I would type up my response, and then I would paste it into AI, and I would say, make this sound like George Washington was saying it, or, you know, I'd pick somebody, and it was funny. It would come back with the greatest replies, and then I'd still modify it a little bit. And the other thing, just a helpful hint for people who are using AI and stuff like that, keep in mind that it's capturing anything that you type in there. So, like, don't put, if you got a message that includes any information that is kind of private between you and the recipient, just put in some either fake information or just eliminate that from your message. So don't type private info into AI. I don't do that. I mean, if somebody thinks that's a good idea, let me know. Let me know why you think that. But I believe that with AI, it's good to use it, but I think you should view it as you are speaking to an audience of 1,000 people, right? Or the whole world. I mean, I'm saying an audience, meaning realize you're talking to a lot of people, but you're actually talking to the world. It is not a private conversation. And part of that is, hold on. Part of that is important because it learns, right? It's learning off of every conversation we all have with it. It's basically only gathering its info from sources that have been created by people. We're about 50-50 today on the cows. 50 are up, 50 are down. 50 up, 50 down. So, just a helpful warning, Craig. Keep your AI conversations protected. Oh, there's a tiny little cow out there. I love baby cows. Ooh. I just want to hug one. I say that from my comfortable position here in the van. If I got up close to it, it's probably would be a different story. Like, right on time. Right on time. Looks like recycle day here in Carroll County. See a couple of bins out. All right, now we got a little forest trip. I think it breaks up in here. Maybe not. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? There's some spot where it drops, I think. There we go. See that water tower? That's the home base. Home base. Bob went to get some supplies. He goes to a place in East Baltimore, West Baltimore. Once a week he goes down there. That's where he is now. Neighbor run, got back and forth. Before he got back, yes. Indeed. Which means I don't have. His. Whoa. Great. There we go. All right, everybody. Well, today's trip was interesting because we had some breakups. Breaking up is so hard to do. To be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's actually a 6 o'clock day. Tuesday. Yes. So I'll be back on, set that up for tomorrow, and see what I can do. But anyway, if you see this and you want to send a comment in, please do. Otherwise, till then, bye-bye, everybody.